That was awesome, Mina. Thank you. We're going to try to give you a story that's not as disruptive as what Mina was talking about. So our goal is to enhance the standard of care for treating retinal disorders by getting the first FDA approval for bevacizumab in ophthalmology in the history of man. We are a public company, so I will be making some forward statements, and here are our disclaimers. So this is a pretty interesting opportunity for us. Everybody knows anti-VEGF space is very, very large, 13 billion outside, or in total and globally, and about half of that in the United States. But what we're doing with bevacizumab is something that's a little bit beyond perhaps of what people might have anticipated. We're actually bringing a differentiated form of this molecule to the marketplace just by virtue of meeting FDA regulations and standards that are required to earn the right to get an FDA approval in ophthalmology and inject these biologic drug solutions into a patient's eye. On top of that, our bevacizumab is not going to be subjected to the vagaries of the compounding process. We have filed, our FDA has filed our BLA. We do have a PDUFA date of late August of next year. We've recently signed a commercialization agreement with AmerisourceBergen that I'll discuss in a little bit more detail later. I think most are aware of the fact that about 50% of the market is off-label bevacizumab, off-label Avastin. So that's a tremendous opportunity to bring a pristine level of safety and efficacy and quality, one that we're very excited about. Not everybody understands that upon successful achievement of an FDA approval, it's 12 years of regulatory exclusivity in the United States, and a similar amount in Europe, assuming we get approvals for wet AMD, which is our first effort, followed closely thereafter by efforts in DME and in BRVO. So the landscape today, if we think about what are the doctors doing out there, the PAT survey has been pretty consistent in their results over the last couple of years, and the doctors have indicated that they start about 2/3 of their patients on off-label Avastin. But then they don't maintain all 2/3 of those patients on them. There's a lot of switching that's going on, and the maintenance that we've been able to get from market research indicates maybe 40-50% of those patients stay on it, despite the fact that 2/3 of the patients were started on it. So what's going on here? Well, we think there are a couple of things going on. On the top left slide here, there was a JAMA article that was printed where doctors had gotten together and they had randomly sampled off-label Avastin, and they had performed a bunch of laboratory tests. Say, what are we really getting here? Because you've got Avastin that was designed to go into a drip IV, wasn't designed to be approved in ophthalmology, and then it gets subjected to the vagaries of the compounding process. So what are we getting at the end of the day? And one of the things that this study showed was that 81% of the samples had insufficient drug protein concentration. So is the doctor injecting a subtherapeutic amount of drug? It's a question of dosing that kind of went into the doctor's mind once these results were shown. And so maybe that's some of the switching. Maybe doctors are starting their patients on off-label Avastin. They do 1 or 2, 3 months of injections, and they're still wet. So they decide to move on to something else. The other thing that could be going on here is, despite the fact that bevacizumab has been proven to be a great molecule in a number of areas, but not the least of which is in the anti-VEGF area, again, it wasn't designed to meet ophthalmic specifications. So the specifications that we have to meet include sterility. We've got to show an utter lack of particulates in the drug solution. We've got to have endotox levels that are appropriate for this product category. Our factories have to meet all sorts of cGMP requirements, as you probably know. Our packaging is ultimately going to be FDA approved. We've got to meet the pH levels that the eye likes to have. Not necessarily required to go into a drip IV and be delivered systemically. We've got osmolarity specifications, but maybe most importantly, we've got to show the FDA we've got validated process to ensure we've got the right amount of drug in every single vial and in every single solution. So maybe that's where some of this switching behavior has been going on. So given the fact that the markets had access to off-label bevacizumab for a long time, we couldn't just assume that the marketplace wanted it, so we did a bunch of surveys. We showed them our target product profile and said, look, we want to come to the market with bevacizumab, initially in wet AMD and then ultimately in DME and BRVO. What do y'all think? So surveys were done in the United States and Europe, and the results were almost identical. On average, 84% of the doctors were interested or very interested, despite the fact that they've had access to off-label bevacizumab for all these years. Then Spherix came along and did an independent research independent of our company, and queried doctors and said, well, that's a funky looking slide, but I'll try to read it out for you. They asked the doctors, did you know Outlook is coming with this product? Half of the doctors knew, which is kind of interesting. We don't even have a sales force out there. 80% of them saw this as an advancement, and a similar number said they believed an FDA-approved bevacizumab for wet AMD was important. This mattered to them. And a similar number said, if this gets FDA approved, I'm going to use it. So, from a commercial standpoint, one of the most important decisions that we've made is to get together with AmerisourceBergen and find out that all sorts of things we thought we were going to have to do inside of our company, AmerisourceBergen was already doing it. They already had these services available. So they could be a front office, a back office. They could be your medical information distributor. They could do your pharmacovigilance. Obviously, they'd be available for the 3PL. They're the kings of cold chain distribution. Our product will be shipped under temperature-controlled conditions, unlike what comes out of the compounding pharmacy arena oftentimes. And so we signed this agreement with AmerisourceBergen, which saves us the time and money of hiring all this front office and back office folks. They've already got these people on their payroll. They're good people. They've been trained. They're doing these jobs now. So a great opportunity for us to leverage the strength of the 10th largest company in the country along with our product and our customer relationships. So in summary, big opportunity, we think, for us. The potential to get the first FDA approval in ophthalmology for bevacizumab ever. Our PDUFA date, our decision date, is August 29 of next year. And we've got a management team who's been there, done that. We've got a group of people who know how to launch these kinds of products to the retina community. So we're looking forward to playing a role in enhancing the standard of care in the anti-VEGF space. Thank you.